Alright, so you done shot up all your ammo. Well, it's time to make some more then, right? Okay, we'll work on that. I'm gonna roll some 300 Blackout tonight. I got 50 pieces of all sorts of mixed head stamp. That's like City, that's AP 300 ACC Blackout, that's 223, that Remington Peter. It's a jumble. So the first thing that you do, which I've already done, is knock the primers out. Let's see if you can bring my light over here. There's no primer in there. So you got to knock the primers out. And then I've already run these through a wash, so they're clean. Next thing you'd have to do is resize them. So let's walk through that. So to resize, the first thing you're probably going to need, pardon the racket, is ye old press, right? Because you may have strong hands, but you're not squeezing brass down by hand. And this thing is by far the coolest press ever in my book, because if I take the little primer chute off down here, you can mount it flat in the middle of your bench wherever the hell you want, provided you got the short handle on it, which this short handle and putting it anywhere on the bench I want was the whole reason I got this thing. So let's just snug them up a little bit. Don't have to be Loctited or Vibratited or any of that, just tight. So I got to take out my seating die that I had in here from the last operation I was doing. We're going to set that down there, and I will be back in just a second to step you all through sizing brass. Alright, so what you're going to need to resize brass. Obviously your brass. And if you're doing any sort of bottleneck case, bottleneck being that it's got a shoulder in it like that, not like a 9mm or a 4570 or 357 Magnum or any of that. Anything with a shoulder in it, you're going to need to lube. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck cases, which are a royal pain in the ass. They get stuck in the die. And then you got to turn it upside down and drill a hole in it, but make sure you get everything else out of the way and try and suck it out backwards. It's a pain in the butt. Okay. Every die set comes with their own instructions on how to set stuff up. But 9 out of 10 will tell you, for sizing operation, to run the sizing die down until you have good contact with the shell holder down here. In case you didn't see that before, that's what holds on to your case so that you can pull it back down out of the die. So you want good contact. That's a little much. That's and some people will tell you that you want to cam the press over, or you want to make sure that you squeeze the crap out of it, but in reality, all you need to do is push that shoulder back just a little bit, probably like 4th out max for an automatic rifle, or semi-automatic rifle, auto-loading rifle, let's say that. So you want to push that back just a little bit. You're going to ask, well, how do you know you're pushing it back just a little bit? And that's what these are for. You open this here sucker up and clamp that guy down on your calipers. And, well, I don't have the right size in there, but that hole is 330 thousandths wide, you'll find one that fits around your case, which I think 300 Blackout doesn't have much of a shoulder to even hit. Nope. Let's see. Yeah, it'd be the 350. And it'll go down and hit someplace on there, and all you're looking for is a repeatable measurement to hit the bottom of that shoulder. So that's what you would clamp that in your calipers, which that's what these are for. Clamp it in there, zero your calipers, run that up in there, and you'd come up with a measurement, and you want to be able to have a repeatable measurement with your sizing operation. You want everyone to come out plus or minus like a thou or 2 thou. Mixed head stamp brass like I've got here, it doesn't have any sort of consistency like Lapua or Peterson or Alpha or any of the expensive brass. So the first thing you do when you're getting ready, case lube. This is Imperial Sizing Dye Wax. This is the best stuff in the world in my book, especially if you're doing small batches. You just put a little on your fingers. It says use very sparingly. You just put a little bit on the case. I got the short handle on it, so it makes it a little tougher. Run it in, run it out. And since I'm doing sizing operations, here, we'll just make this thing goofy looking. I'll take one out when I'm done sizing. How many presses you know that can have 2 handles? That's the only one I know of. You can have plenty that are ambidextrous, or you can put it on one side or the other. This is the only one I know of for sure with 2 handles. I mean, I'm sure you could have somebody sell you another handle for the other side, but who needs that? Me, when I'm sizing brass. You'll probably hear my kiddo in the other room yelling. He's playing on his headset with a friend of his. Oop, missed. And I'm still on my original little finger load there. And you can tell when you kind of get down to the end, it'll get a little tougher to size. Right now, 300 Blackout size is really easy. There's not a whole lot of work going on in there. And these, I'm pretty sure I sized already whenever I pop the primers in them. But we'll do it anyway. Who'd think that lubricated, smooth brass cases would be hard to keep a hold of? Anyway, y'all don't need to see me resize cases, do you? You've seen this operation now, what? This will be 15 times. I'll catch y'all in a minute. Alright, well, I ended up with, what, 29 pieces of good brass, so I guess I get to break out the trimmer and show y'all the least desirable part of reloading. Nobody likes trimming. Nobody. Unless you've got one of those $500 Gerodes or one of those high-speed Dillon setups that's like $2,000 that's nothing but a brass processing station, which I would love to have, but I don't shoot often enough to need it. And I'm not loading commercially either, so there's that. And since the majority of my gear is all RCBS, of course I have the Trim Pro 2 case trimmer. So out it comes. And of course, I don't have, nope, they're over there, my itty bitty screws for my bench plate. And that one. So there's 100 solutions for mounting stuff to a workbench. But if you're gonna go the RCBS route for all your stuff, pretty much like I have, the plate is freaking awesome. It'll mount just about anything that you could want to it. Turn that sucker off. So the plate, you can mount just about anything that they make to it. Most of the presses, trimmer, obviously. You can mount your powder throw over here on this side. You can mount a priming unit over here. You can mount, obviously, my press over here. They make a lubricizer if you're into cast bullets. You feeds bullets down and lubes them and sizes them at the same time. They even make a heated base for that in case you're doing thick lube, but that's more than I get into. So, let's see here. That's my Arbor Die conversion. I'm not going to mess with setting up my 3-way trimmer. 430 cal tonight. It's got a 35 cal button in it. So when you get this, you get a cutter and a bag. Usually you get a bag full of heads that are pilots. They kind of help. This isn't going to fit because this is 35. They kind of help center you up. So now I got to change out my pilot. Just undoing a set screw and finding the right one in the bag. Not 45, not 25, 44. You know what? 44, 45, 30. And of course I throw it in my tray. God, I'm all thumbs tonight. So you slip your pilot back in there, tighten it down, and you're your cutter just threads into the shaft. So now, pardon me, I'm going to bring y'all around to see what I'm doing here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is set this thing up with a known case that will fit at the minute. Yeah, that's one that'll fit. You push down on the jaws, you run that up to it, and then, because this one fits, we can set our depth just like that. So this has got a gross adjustment collar, and then where these little lines are is 1/1000th of an inch every time you advance that collar. But right now, we don't have to do any of that because that case fits. It passes the gauge or the length already. So all you gotta do, snap a new one in, run it down, and listen to the lovely squeals. This is why I love trimming brass. And, as you can see, that's just an ugly, gnarly, flat-faced cut with burrs all over it. That's a pain in the butt. You gotta find a tool to cut that down. Is that in this little box? It is. So you just take this thing and you give it a little on the inside, turn it over, give it a little on the outside, and it doesn't have to be, razor sharp or anything, just enough to kind of cut the burr down. Alright. Rinse, lather, repeat. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. My pilot has come loose in there. That's no good. Loosen that up. Push him back all the way back down in there. Lock her tight. And see how bad you boogered it up. Nope, not too bad. Case head's boogered up, but I got a bunch of those already from conversion process. Now you see why everybody hates trimming brass. And this is why I never trim pistol brass, because I shoot too much of it, and the other reason is it never grows. Pistol brass hardly grows at all. Rinse, lather, repeat, yet again. Oh, that's that's the other thing. If you're going to get one of the RCBS ones, make sure you get the one with the universal jaws on it. They make a version of this that has a little shell holder, kind of a U notch that looks kind of like this but smaller, and you snap it down in there to hold on to the rim of the case instead of that kind of universal jaw that you can kind of push out of the way. y'all some height comparison of what I'm talking about here. The one on the right is the correct, I say correct, is the length that we're looking for. And the one on the left is about 1.5 miles too long when it comes to the lengths we're dealing with in reloading. That's a long ways off. Or the other way that you can tell, especially when you're using a lathe style trimmer, you can see the gap there between this side and that. That's how too much long we are. Here, let's put that's how much long, how too long we are. Set you back down. Now, there's 100 different ways to trim brass. If you're going to do it in bulk, I've got a little, basically a drill chuck that you can put in a drill press, or in a cordless drill for that matter. And it's got basically the outside dimensions of the neck and a shoulder in it, and you can just slip it in there, and it's got a bearing that allows an end mill to eat up the front, and then all you got to do is this operation. And there's even better ways to do that. Hornady makes a powered trim, or not trim, but a powered deburr, or deburr and chamfer tool. It'll also accept like case or primer pocket cleaners and brushes and all that stuff, and all those small tools like that. The thread pattern on the back end of the tool is pretty much universal. I don't think I've run across anything that's got its own special threads. And the same goes for like the cutters that these take. RCBS makes a carbide one. Like I say, I've got the three-way cutter that it'll trim and chamfer and deburr at the same time. I've got it set up for 223 at the minute, but it's just a pain in the butt to reset up for 20 pieces of brass. If you're going to do a great big huge run, you know, it pays to break out, like I say, that drill chuck, and then RCBS makes the same kind of thing I was saying about that Hornady. They call it a case prep center, or case prep station, or something like that. But it's got 5 little spinning plugs, like a PTO, like for a tractor, and you just screw in whatever you want, wherever you want, and you can do your operations and move around. And I have one of those for when I'm doing big runs, but again, 20 pieces, I'm not going to break all that stuff out just for what takes me 20 minutes to do here. almost 2 miles long. And if you're a neat freak about keeping your area clean, I'm sure somewhere out there on the internet somebody's 3D printed like a tray that fits. I will say one more thing. If y'all are in the phase of like still putting together a place to reload and a bench and all that, get you a 3-drawer, like whatever that is, 2.5-foot wide filing cabinet, and just build you a top on it. You got storage underneath, you got all the room in the world, and you just put it in the corner and you're set. It's super strong, and you got all the storage underneath. It's great. I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, but I should have built like this from the get-go.